which is President Biden's performance. Unfortunately, you did bring it up. He did say at the end it was a bit incoherent. He did stumble off on that answer and then landed on "We beat Medicare." What is your reaction to President Biden's performance, specifically at the debate?
Sad. Always sad. I mean, I'm 80 years old. I forget stuff all the time. So I'm not, I'm not, that happens to us when we get old. It doesn't mean that we're incapable of doing work. It just means that now and again, I call you Jane instead of Brittany. I mean, that happens. And it was sad watching it. He was under a lot of pressure. He knew that the one thing he couldn't do was act like he was old. And, when that kind of pressure is on you, all of a sudden you're doing stuff that makes it look like you're older than we thought you were. I do like that the next day he said, I am old. I'm not a young man any longer. I'm having, I have some difficulty walking. He's got some arthritis, I think, in his knees. And he doesn't debate as well. I think he's got to persuade Americans that there's whatever cognitive decline is occurring. And I have cognitive decline. It's not shameful. It's just part of aging. So he's going to have to persuade Americans that the cognitive decline is not sufficient to prevent him for the next 4 years of being a good president.
Of course, and he was under tremendous pressure at the debate, but the president of the United States is the toughest job in the world. So do you think he is the man or woman of the moment right now? Is he the best leader of the Democratic Party?
Maybe not, but he is currently the leader and likely the nominee. So all I've got to compare him with is the former president who's also running. And for me personally, it's not a close call. So I think I do worry about him, and I was sad for him. It's not easy to watch an old person have difficulty with something that looks relatively easy. It's not easy. What was asked of him and former President Trump in that intense environment of a presidential debate. But again, I do think, and he's going to have to prove it. He can't just put out a press release and say, oh, I have trouble walking, I have trouble in debates, and I'm old. That's not going to be enough, because what Americans are going to want to know is the cognitive decline that we're seeing, is it enough to impair your capacity to be president? I don't think it is, but he's got to make that proof.
So you don't think President Biden at this point should step aside?
No. Look, I've run for office, I've run for Senate, I've run for governor, I ran foolishly one time ran for president. You can't talk people into not running. Once they're in, it's a fool's mission. He's the one that decided that I want to run for president again, and he's the only one that can decide that he is or isn't going to run.